it's Melissa from The Little For the Kid, and today is the final day in my back to homeschool or back to school week. So today I'm sharing with you all things record keeping. So if you're interested in learning about how I keep up with our school records, stick around. Okie doke. So first of all, you need to make sure that you find out what the laws are in your state about record keeping because they are so different from state to state. In my specific state, there are none. You heard that right. There are no laws about record keeping or much of anything else when it comes to homeschooling. So all of this that I'm about to show you that I do to keep records is purely for my own benefit. I am not required to do this. I am not required to show anybody. I am not required to turn it into anybody. I literally do it for my own purposes. The main reason I do it, and I've mentioned this before in other videos, the main reason that I do it is because I don't ever want something unexpected to happen and my kids to suffer because of it. Life is short, life is complicated, life is not always within our control, and so we don't know what could happen. And quite frankly, the kids and I are the only ones who really know what we do for school. Yeah, we talk about it with, my husband, and he has an idea of what we're doing and what we're not doing, but when it comes down to the nitty-gritty of all of it, he really is clueless. He's at work while we're doing all of it. He doesn't know. So if something were to ever happen, God forbid, I die, I'm hurt, I have to go back to work full time. I mean, 1,000 different things could happen to put us in a position where we'd have to change our homeschooling to another option. Our plan is to homeschool all 3 of our kids all the way until they graduate from high school. But as we all know, plans can change whether we like it or not, sometimes completely outside of our control. So I want to be sure that no matter what happens to my children, no matter what happens to me, that I leave clear records about everything we've done in our homeschool, so it is never a question, so that any adult anywhere anytime could come back and look at everything that I've done and feel 100% confident that they know what my children have learned and they know what my children have not learned, and they could easily pick up from there, whether that be somebody else homeschooling them, whether that be sending them back to private school, whether that be sending them to public school, whatever the case may be. I want my children to be fully prepared to do whatever they need to do if homeschooling should ever no longer be an option for us. I pray that won't ever happen, but I don't want to be unprepared for that. And I don't want to leave my husband freaking out if something happened to me. I just am the type of person who likes to think ahead. I like to be very in control. I'm kind of OCD and over the top. And so this is what I'm doing because it gives me peace of mind. So again, everything that you are about to see me talk about that I do to keep records for my children is completely of my own volition. I don't show it to anybody. I don't turn it in to anybody. There are no laws requiring that I do this in my state. Now, your state may be different. Some states do have requirements of records you have to keep. So make sure when you're thinking about your record keeping that the very first thing you do is find out what legalities there are in your state about record keeping and make sure you're following those and not just my advice on what I do, because what I do might not be what you need to do. So make sure that that is your first step in record keeping. Okay, so the first thing I do is something that I have always done, even when my children were not homeschooled. So my older children went to private school for many years. And so even when they were in traditional school at that private school, I did this. And I have these, I'm only going to show you one because they're big. I have these hanging file folder bins. Okay, they're You can see the hanging file folders in there. And as I said, I'm extra and I'm OCD and I label everything. So I have one for each kid. And this gives me an easy way to put keepsakes from their childhood all in one place. So I've always done that, like Mother's Day cards they made in first grade, or you know, Christmas activities or photos that got taken at school and turned into some cute project, or anything that came home from school when they were in traditional school that was a keepsake. If your kids have ever gone to traditional school, you know they bring a lot of those home. I put in there. Anything that we have done now that we're homeschoolers that is a keepsake type of thing, I put it in the box. Everything goes in there. Everything. Now I don't save everything. I don't mean to tell you that, like, I'm trying to get an example. Like, you know, every worksheet that they ever do in every subject doesn't go in there. Okay? It's not that. I don't save everything. Lots of things just get thrown away at the end of the year. But any kind of keepsake things or things that I feel like are important to keep for them go in those file folder, hanging file folder bins, or whatever you want to call them. Then, so that's easy. So I just have this bin, it's ready to go. It's got file folders in it, and I can just, like, it takes me 1 second to put something in there. Then I also have portfolios for each child for each school year. Now, some states I know require this for homeschoolers, so check and see if your state does. Again, my state does not require this, but I like this idea, especially for homeschoolers that are eventually going to go to college. A lot of colleges, from my understanding, will just take a homeschooler's transcript without any trouble, no biggie, that's all they want. Others want to see some of their work that they did in high school. So for me, again, I'm OCD, I'm a little extra and over the top about things. So for me, I'm making portfolios. Again, not required in my state. Some states do require it, so check your state laws. But I make binders for each of my kids with their name, the school year, and what grade they are in that year. And so then I put tab dividers in it for all the subjects that they're working on that year. And then anything that I feel like is a good sampling of their work, stuff from the beginning of the school year, stuff from the middle of the school year, stuff from the end of the school year, to give an idea of progression in each subject, I put in these portfolios. I also print out grades and put in these portfolios. And I also print out transcripts and put in these portfolios, or at least I will when we're in high school next year. So the good thing about the file folder bin is if I go through this and I'm thinking, man, I really didn't pull a lot of, you know, literature samples for Olivia this year, I can go back and look at my bin, and chances are I've probably put something in there that'll work great for my portfolio. So some people feel like that's a lot of work and it's like a lot of paper and a lot of storage and it's taking up space in their house and they don't want to do it. So that's fine. If you don't want to do it and it's not a law in your state, like it's not in mine, don't do it. But for me, I like it. It gives me peace of mind, and so I do. The other thing that I do that I can't really show you because it's not a hard book is I do use a record keeping. I keep grades on my computer is what I should say. Sorry, I was tripping over words. I do have an Excel document or Excel file that I keep all their grades in, and it averages them for me. It keeps up with all of that. It automatically puts it in transcript form, and voila, it's done. So when I said that I print off grades and put them in here, that's where those grades are coming from. If you're interested in how I grade things, I'm happy to do a video about that. If you're interested in seeing that, be sure to say that in the comments below, and I will keep that in mind, and I will try to do that if that's something you're interested in. I don't grade my first grader really. I start grading in middle school because I feel like, well, I'll probably start grading Ford stuff when he gets maybe in third grade or so. I do go over it with him, but obviously he doesn't do really much of anything independently yet. So as soon as he starts doing things independently, I will grade those things so that he starts to learn, you know, how that works. But I do grade the majority of my middle schoolers things, and it depends on your curriculum. You know, some things are very straightforward. It's just a worksheet with right or wrong answers. Other things are a little more gray, and so I do use a lot of rubrics and things like that. So if you're interested to know how I grade things, how I keep grades, let me know in the comments, and I'll try to see about doing that. Otherwise, that was the last video in this series. I hope that you learned something this week from me. Maybe all you learned was all the things you don't want to do as a homeschooler. And if that's the case, that's okay. Sometimes I think it's good to see the ways we don't want to do things. And just because it's the way I do it doesn't mean it's the right way for you to do it. That's one of the wonderful things about homeschooling, is that it is schooling at your home, not my home, yours. And so you can make it what you want it to be. And that is one of, in my opinion, that is probably the biggest perk of homeschooling, is that you can tailor it specifically to your family, your children, your needs, your wants, and make it exactly what you want it to be. So I hope you got some good info, whether it was something you want to start doing that that is what I do, or whether it's, I know I don't want to do it the way Melissa does it. That's great. You learned something. I hope it helped you, and I'll be back next week just for my regularly scheduled videos. So I'll see y'all then. Bye.